fully verbal kids. They may be really good at one thing, really bad at something else. Everyone's getting all hung up in the diagnosis. We're not thinking enough about getting them out there in the world. When I was 13, Mother got me a sewing job. And when I was 15, I was cleaning horse stalls. And when I was a real little kid, I had to be her party hostess. We need to start middle school for these kids, paper route substitutes, lots of different church jobs, setting up chairs for the social. They've got to learn that they've got a responsibility and do these things. I'm seeing too many kids ending up on Social Security playing video games because they didn't learn work skills. That's not a good outcome. I would have been a video game addict. When I was a kid, TV was limited to 1 hour a day. But I had plenty of time for creativity to do my kite experiments. I had all kinds of kites that I flew behind my bike. Now this brain scan shows that I have a huge, great big visual thinking circuit in my brain. There's another one right there. Every time a new brain scanning technology comes out, I go running to it. This is taken at the University of Pittsburgh. And I find out, yes, I really do have a big visual thinking circuit. Now this is a circuit in the brain for speak what you see. That's a silly Latin name. I don't know what the Latin name is, and it means something stupid. Because in the brain you have a thing called the hippocampus. It's the part of the brain that finds, it's a file finder for memories. That's the seahorse in Latin. Yeah. I don't see anything very scientific about that. But that's the circuit for speak what you see. That's a normal one. And now I'll show you mine. Oh. I got a lot of extra branches. Give me a keyword, I get pictures. But I pay the price for those branches. If you count the fibers, I got less circuits for speak what you say. So I had speech delay. I had trouble getting my speech out. And by the time I was 2.5, I got into very good speech therapy. Can't emphasize enough getting an early intervention. You got to work with these kids, keep them connected to the world. I had 3 half-an-hour Miss Manners meals with me and my sister where we had to do table manners. We played lots of board games. Now this scan shows what happened to the math department. Pretty well got wrecked. Full of water. Working memory's bad. So you're going to have to do a workaround. I like to discuss this thing. I like engineering jargon better than I like educational jargon. Even engineering jargon get pretty obnoxious. But you do a workaround. So the way you deal with a working memory problem is no long strings of verbal information. If I have to do a task that involves steps, I write them down. Or you can put them on the phone or something. But I've got to write it down. And this really wrecked the algebra department. And I'm very concerned. Too many smart kids are going to get screened out by the algebra requirement. I don't know why you can't substitute geometry. A lot of kids that can't do algebra can do geometry just fine. So when I went on Google Images and I type in geometry on the image function on Google, I get fabulous websites, all kinds of visual math stuff. Then I type trigonometry in, and I get maybe 3/4 of it's visual. Then I type calculus in, and I get, maybe 25% of it's visual. I type algebra in, and I just get fancy word fonts. I don't get anything visual. That's why it doesn't make any sense to me. I could not learn computer programming. I wanted to, but I couldn't. In 1968, Bill Gates and I had access to this very machine right here, IBM 360. He could do it, I couldn't. Okay, I want to show you how the pattern thinker works. That praying mantis is made out of a single sheet of folded paper. And what you see in the background is the folding pattern. Well, there's no way I could do that. No way. There are some great little origami stars. You got that little 3rd grader that's good at math. Let's not bore him with baby math. Give him a high school math book. We were discussing at dinner that some of the educators go, oh, well, if we do that, then when he gets into high school, he's got nothing to do. I go, bull. There's a zillion courses online that are free on things like Khan Academy and Coursera. Free programming classes. You want to be hot in Silicon Valley, they could care less about algebra. All they care about is if you can code. I'll tell you what the hot languages are. I can't do them, but I know their names, and I know how to find the web pages. C++, Charlie++, Ruby, the Joule, Python, the Snake, and JavaScript. That's what runs Minecraft. You learn those languages, you put them up out online, put your portfolio out there. They're hiring right now. They're looking for coders right now. They care about algebra? No. Silicon Valley is a no barrier, academic barrier of entry industry. If you've got the skills, you're in. Now you do have to be able to read at the level of USA Today. And you're going to have to know how to do the 6th grade math. That you got to do. There's some more really, really great origami right there. Now when I asked an astrophysics professor about church steeples, instead of seeing a whole bunch of specific pictures, that's what I see. A lot of word thinkers see just pointy thing. The astrophysicist saw motion of people singing and praying. I go, wow, trippy. That's really, 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 really trippy. There's different ways to do the math. Then we make the algebra more visual. People are all hung up on how you teach it. What's important is the outcome. You know, I've worked for years on equipment at the large meatpacking plants. Half the cattle in this country are handled in a center track restrainer system I designed. If you want to see it, you can look at Beef Plant Video Tour with Temple Grandin, and you can see it. And that's there's a lot of work doing that. Here's more evidence for the different kinds of visual thinking. Okay, let's look at some different ways of looking at thinking. Associative thinking versus linear. Word thinker thinks linear. Visual thinkers are not very good at organization. That's why some of my books have co-authors, because I needed that for organization. Pictures and patterns versus words. Another important thing is top-down versus bottom-up. In bottom-up thinking, you form concepts with specific examples. Top-down, okay, educators are really bad on this, some theory. Thank goodness in '67 it was finite math that saved me. And you try to cram everything into it. Doesn't work very well. You can be social or more social. And when people, I use specific examples to form concepts, word thinkers tend to overgeneralize. I find this all the time on troubleshooting behavior problems in kids and behavior problems in adults. They'll say stuff to me like, what do you do about behavior problems, autistic kids in the classroom? Well, I don't know. Is a kid 5 and throwing a tantrum? Is it a teenager that's bored? What is the problem? I don't have enough information to answer that. Or they'll say, my dog is crazy. They expect me to answer that. How am I going to answer that? Crazy what? Happy? Biting? I don't know what it's doing. Too much overgeneralization. We need to look at personality traits, sort of like a music mixing board. You can be more visual or less visual. More mathematical or less mathematical. More anxious or less anxious. I had a lot of problems with anxiety when I got into puberty. And as I went through my 20s, the anxiety got worse and worse and worse and worse. Exercise helped me, and I finally had to take antidepressant medication. Visual thinkers tend to be the panic monsters. Oh, meatpacking plants, they were designed on Prozac. Seriously. They worked with people. There were a little dose of Prozac, kept them out of the gutter, kept them off of drugs and alcohol. And when you're using drugs like Prozac or Zoloft for anxiety, you got to use real small doses. And if you're interested in that, I'll tell you all about it in Thinking in Pictures. Okay, starting to want to sneeze. I'm trying to stop myself from sneezing. Oh, man. I don't know what I'm allergic to here. Well, these two guys here made the cover of Time magazine. What would happen to little Albert in today's educational system? They'd get bored in school, and they wouldn't want to do baby math over and over again, and then they'd label them oppositional defiant. Well, Stevie, he's done really well for himself. Too many kids are getting labels. I'm worried that our educational system is screening them out. There's a lot of discussion about separated classrooms. There's some situations where maybe there's some individuals need to be in a separate classroom. But what I don't want to see, and I saw this just in the last month, is a smart, fully verbal 12-year-old in with all the nonverbal kids. And he's just doing some silly thing on the computer that isn't very good. Now, I was a kid where a regular high school didn't work. I got kicked out of 9th grade for fighting. Girl called me a retard. I chucked the book at her. So I went to a special boarding school for gifted kids with problems. Yeah, I cleaned a lot of horse stalls. My parents spent a lot of money for me to learn how to clean horse stalls. But I think Mr. Patey realized I was learning how to work. So there's some kids you may need to pull them out. Then you need to homeschool them, but homeschool them, you got to put them in the workforce. You got to get them out of the house. The thing we cannot allow is recluses in the bedroom playing video games. We absolutely can't allow that. We need to limit that to an hour a day. Absolutely got to limit that.